Are you sleeping but still finding that you're exhausted? Are you eating right and exercising but noticing that the scale won't budge? Well, when we don't sleep well, our body and our hormones actually work against us when it comes to weight loss. So we have more cravings. We crave bad food. We eat on average 500 more calories a day, and the body actually stores fat instead of releasing it. So when we don't sleep well, our body literally fights weight loss. So in the next 5 to 6 minutes, I'm going to share with you what's going on in your body and what you can do tonight to turn things around. So when we don't sleep well, it is a hormone disaster. So leptin is the hormone that tells us that we're full. That actually drops. Ghrelin, which is the hormone that says we're hungry, it goes up. And as a result, we eat up to 500 more calories in a day. Also, we crave foods that are unhealthy often, things like carbohydrates, because the body's in search of energy. Also, decision making crashes. So the prefrontal cortex, the front part of your brain, the part that knows that there's going to be a consequence for a bad decision, that part of your brain's not working. And the amygdala, which is your fear center, is running amok and kind of running the show. And so we feel more anxious. And often, what do we do when we feel anxious? We comfort ourselves with food. So typically what happens when we don't sleep well, we make poor food decisions. Also, our body becomes insulin resistant, and that just means that it's not regulating blood sugar as well, and it's storing fat. So the other thing that happens when we don't sleep well is our immune system is really impacted. So we have a 70% reduction in cancer fighting cells, and inflammation is upregulated. So bottom line, your body literally fights weight loss when you're exhausted. It's actually trying to protect you by hanging on to everything because it perceives that it's in danger. So what should happen with regard to sleep at night? Well, we should be cycling through 4 different stages about 4 to 6 times per night. And so we have a couple of stages that are non-REM sleep. There's when you're kind of dozing off, then there's a light sleep when all of your processes are gearing down. And then we go into deep sleep, and that's what makes us feel rested and refreshed. And then we have REM sleep, which is the rapid eye movement that you probably have already heard of. And in that stage, we're actually processing through emotions. It helps us with creativity and with our memory. So if we don't get our REM sleep, we can lose up to 50% of the things that we learned the day before. Next, let's talk about common sleep disruptors. Caffeine is one of the biggest, and one of the things that you may not know about caffeine is it actually takes 10 to 12 hours to get it out of your body. So if you want to go to bed by 9 p.m., you need to cut off your caffeine by 9 or 11 a.m. at the latest to be able to get it all out of your body before you go to sleep. I have a lot of women who'll say to me, I can drink coffee right before bed and go to sleep. And you can for some people, but what we have found is that the quality of your sleep is not as good. So even if you can do it and go to sleep, I would recommend cutting your caffeine off 10 to 12 hours before going to bed. The other thing is blue light. So blue light confuses the brain. It thinks it's daylight. So I would encourage you to wear blue light blocking glasses, turn your lights down. Don't look at screens an hour to 2 hours before bedtime. Again, so that your body knows it's time to go to sleep. And then also avoid eating, exercise, and alcohol 3 hours before bed, and then keep your bedroom nice and cool. They've proven that 65 to 68 is the optimal temperature for sleeping. And actually sleeping in a cool room is one of the best things that you can do to actually lose weight. And I'll put a link to it in my blog post, but there was a study that said 66 was the optimal temperature for supporting weight loss. And then also turning your Wi-Fi off. You may not know this, but Wi-Fi or EMF exposure actually lowers your melatonin production. So turn your cell phones off, get them out of your bedroom, turn your Wi-Fi off while you sleep. So the other thing I want to talk about is sleep disorders. They are incredibly common. Most of us know somebody who's on a CPAP these days. And one of the reasons that this is happening is mainly air pollution. So, we see a lot higher incidence of it today than what we once did. Some of it is also because we're heavier now than we once were. So 42 million Americans actually have a sleep disorder. 90% of them are undiagnosed, and there's actually 80 different types of sleep disorders. So If you think that a sleep disorder is just, gasping at night or coughing at night, that is incorrect. There are many, many different types. So, what I want you to be aware of are the signs and symptoms of a sleep disorder. So, number one, waking up with a dry mouth, a headache, sore throat, teeth grinding, daytime fatigue is one of the biggest that I see. Most women will tell me, around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I just have to lay down because I'm exhausted. So if you hit a wall during the day, that's a sign that you need to pay attention to. Also, weight gain, reflux, high blood pressure, and diabetes. In fact, 80 to 90% of people with diabetes actually have a sleep disorder. So definitely talk to your doctor and don't be afraid. There are ways to deal with sleep disorders that don't require CPAP. So things like myofunctional therapy are an option. And so don't think that you have to have a CPAP always. If you have a mild to moderate sleep apnea, then often you can do some exercises that will enable you to not have to wear one. So the other thing that you can do is wear an Oura ring. Mine's actually on the charger right now, but Oura rings are great because it shows your sleep stages, it shows your oxygen level, and they are fairly accurate when it comes to monitoring those numbers. Next, let's talk about some quick strategies that you can start tonight. So my favorite, and the one that I see that helps women the most, is having a bedtime routine. So what we want to do is at the same time every night, we want to do the same thing. So it might look like putting on some comfortable pajamas, reading a book, turning those lights down, whatever, it could be even taking a hot bath or a shower. So whatever works for you. I want it to be enjoyable, because if you enjoy it, you're going to stick with it. If it's just something that you have to do, you're likely not going to want to do it. And then also going to bed and getting up at the same time is great. Now, if it's time to go to bed and you're not sleepy, it's better to not get in bed and toss and turn. Stay up until you are sleepy, get in bed, but then get up at the same time the next day. And you're definitely going to be sleepy the next night. And then also morning sunlight. So 10 minutes of morning sunlight resets your circadian rhythm, and that tells your body this is the time that you're supposed to be awake, and then this is the time that you're supposed to be asleep. And then also turn your caffeine off, by 10 to 12 hours before going to bed. And then also avoiding, food, alcohol, and exercise 3 hours before bed. Also decreasing fluids. A lot of times women tell me they have to get up in the night and go to the bathroom. So if you're one of those, definitely decrease your fluid intake before going to bed and see if that helps. And then also keeping your bedroom nice and cool, 65 to 68. And then also charge your cell phone outside your bedroom so you're not tempted to look at it. And then also, like I said, taking a hot shower or a bath, 1 to 1.5 hours before bedtime can also be helpful. So just know if you have a habit of staying up too late and you need to go to bed earlier, you don't need to do it all in one night. Even just gradually, 10 minutes a week, start working your way towards getting in bed on time. And, to just don't feel like you have to do all of these things at once. Pick 1 or 2 things, begin to work on it, and just think where you're going to be in 6 months from now. So if you've been trying to lose weight on 5 to 6 hours a night and you're finding that it won't work, now you know why. It's because your body is designed to hang on to weight when it's not sleeping, because it perceives that it's in danger. So as we begin to prioritize sleep, everything will begin to shift. Our hormones become more regulated, our cravings go down, and weight loss is much easier. Also, rest and sleep is not lazy. It is actually obedience. God modeled that for us in Genesis. And so when we pause to rest and to sleep and we put everything in the hands of the Lord, that is trust. It's us trusting that He's going to hold on to everything while we pause and rest. So let me know in comments what your greatest sleep challenge is.